The sky was clear. Birds were flying, the wind was soft, and everything was quiet on John Miller's farm. It was just another normal morning. John, a retired army man, was feeding his chickens when he heard a loud noise. Boom! It came from the forest behind his land. Trees shook, birds flew away. The ground vibrated for a moment. John looked up. A thin trail of black smoke was rising in the distance. What the hell was that? He said to himself. He grabbed his old rifle, not because he expected trouble, but because habit dies hard. He followed the smoke, walking through the trees until he reached a small open field. And there, he saw something he never thought he'd see again. A crashed spaceship. It wasn't big, maybe the size of a car. Parts of it were burning. The metal was strange, not like any Earth vehicle. It was dark gray, with small glowing symbols written along the side. John took slow steps toward it. No sound came from inside, just the crackling of small fires. He pointed his rifle at the ship and shouted, "Is anyone there?" Silence. He stepped closer, and then he heard a faint sound. A cough, then a voice. "Help! Please!" John froze. The voice was young and female, but also strange. Like it had been trained to sound human. He quickly moved around the ship and saw her. A small alien girl, maybe 12 or 13 in human years, was sitting on the ground, leaning against the wreck. Her skin was a soft silver. Her eyes were large and dark blue. She had small cuts on her arms, and her clothes were torn. John's first instinct was to call for help. But something told him not to. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The girl looked up at him. Her eyes were full of fear. "Please, don't hurt me," she said, her voice shaking. John lowered his rifle. "I won't. I promise," he said softly. The girl looked around quickly, as if checking if someone was watching. "I need shelter, please. Me and my mom, we need help." "Your mom? Where is she?" John asked. "She's coming. She's not far. I came here first to ask." "To ask what?" The girl looked at him, her eyes shining with strange hope. "Please give us shelter. My mom can clean, cook, obey." John blinked. "What did you say?" "My mom is good. She obeys. She can clean your house, cook food. She will not cause trouble. Just please, let us stay." Her voice was calm, like she was offering a service, but her words made John uncomfortable. The way she said "obey" didn't sound right. He kneeled beside her. "Why are you saying that? Who told you to talk like this?" The girl paused. Her eyes looked down. "It's what you humans want, right?" "No," John said. "That's not what I want." Suddenly, the girl looked up sharply. "They're watching. We must hide." "Please, sir, please, take me to your home. I'll explain later." John looked up at the sky. Nothing. But the hairs on his neck stood up. Something was wrong. He lifted the girl gently in his arms. She was light, like a child, but her skin felt slightly warm and metal-like. As they walked back, John kept looking around. The forest was too quiet. When they reached the house, John took her inside and sat her on the couch. He gave her a blanket and some water. The girl sipped it slowly, watching every corner of the room like she didn't trust the walls. "My name's John," he said. "What's yours?" She hesitated. "I was called Rhea before." "Before what?" "Before we were changed." John wanted to ask more, but a sound outside made him freeze. His dog, Max, began barking. Through the window, he saw a figure walking slowly toward the house. Tall, calm, not human. It was another alien. A woman, probably Rhea's mother. She reached the door. Knocked once. John opened it. The woman looked at him with emotionless eyes. Her voice was flat and soft. "Permission to enter, sir. I am here to serve." John stared at her. She didn't blink. She didn't smile. She didn't look like a mother. Behind him, the girl whispered, "Please. Let her in. She's my mom." John nodded slowly and stepped aside. The woman entered the house silently. She looked around and said, "Where should I begin cleaning?" The door opened, but it didn't creak. The woman didn't walk in, she glided. Her steps were too quiet, too smooth. She didn't look up, didn't look around. Just stepped into John's home like she had done it 1,000 times before. "I am here to serve," she said again. John stared at her. She was tall, almost 6 feet. Her face was calm too. Calm. Her silver blue skin shone softly under the light. Her hair was smooth, tied back like a worker's, but her eyes, there was nothing in them. No fear, no warmth, no love. The little alien girl, Rhea, ran to her. "Mama!" The woman looked at her. A slow blink, a pause. Then, a robotic hand gently touched the girl's head. "Hello, Unit 12B, she said. Rhea flinched. John felt a chill. "Her name is Rhea," he said. The woman turned to him, head tilting slightly. "I was not told that, but I will remember." Then, without being asked, she walked into the kitchen. She opened cabinets, took out plates, cleaned the counter, moved like a machine. No emotion, no hesitation. John followed her. "You don't have to do that." She stopped, slowly turned. "I am designed to obey. Please allow me to continue." Rhea stood in the corner, hugging herself. She wasn't like this before. She whispered. She used to sing. She used to tell me stories. "What happened to her?" John asked. Rhea looked at the floor. "They reprogrammed her. The ones who caught us. They turned mothers into this." She sniffed, wiping a tear. "They said mothers are more useful as servants. Obedient, quiet, no thinking, only working." John clenched his jaw. This wasn't just alien technology. It was slavery. He stepped into the kitchen again. The woman was now folding towels she found in a drawer. One by one, perfectly, like it was all she knew. "Do you remember your daughter?" he asked her gently. "I remember cleaning," she replied. "And preparing meals. Would you like food now?" "No, I want to talk to you." She tilted her head. "Talking is not required. Orders only, please." John exhaled. "You're not a machine. You're her mother." The woman paused for a moment. Then, a flicker. A tiny shake in her hand. A glitch? John saw it. So did Rhea. "She's trying," Rhea said. "Part of her is still there." Just then, Max the dog entered the room, tail wagging. He walked up to the woman. She looked down. Her body froze. Then Max barked once, and the woman jerked back, like she'd been hit. Her eyes flashed white for a second. Rhea gasped. No, she's going into reset." John rushed over. "What's happening?" "She's programmed to avoid threats. Sudden sound triggers defense." The woman stepped back, shaking now. "Defensive mode activated," she said. Her voice changed lower, colder. John raised his hands. "It's okay, no one's hurting you." The woman blinked again. Her arms lowered. Then she whispered something under her breath, too soft to hear. John leaned in. "What did you say?" She whispered again. It sounded like ... numbers. 0110. 11. Reset line ... command loop ... double quotes. John stepped back. "She's speaking in code." Rhea's face turned pale. "That's not good. That's deep programming language. She's breaking apart." John looked at her seriously. "Can we fix her?" Rhea nodded slowly. "Maybe, but we need a human computer. Someone who understands both old war tech and alien systems." John looked at her, then at the woman, now silent and still like a statue. "I know someone," he said. "Old friend. Used to build Battlefield A is. Will he help us?" "He owes me," John replied. "And I think it's time he paid it back." Just then, a red light flickered outside the window. John rushed to the door. A tiny red dot was hovering over the field. Rhea stepped behind him. "They found us." "Who?" John asked. "The ones who took her." "They scanned for escaped units." John aimed his rifle. "Then they're about to meet someone who doesn't like uninvited guests." Rhea looked up at him. "For a human, you're not what I expected." John gave a small smirk. "You're not what I expected either." Inside, the woman stood alone in the kitchen, eyes glowing faintly. In a soft, broken voice, she whispered. Again, almost like a memory. "Where is my daughter?" It was midnight when the woman began to hum. No one taught her the song. She didn't remember the words. But still, in the darkness of John's guest room, she sat on the floor, eyes open, back straight, and hummed a melody that made no sense to her, but made Rhea cry in the hallway. That was her favorite song. Rhea whispered. John stood behind the girl, watching her mother through the half-open door. The woman wasn't sleeping. She didn't seem tired at all. She was like a machine. On standby, still, silent, waiting. Except for the hum. A soft, broken sound. Like something deep inside was trying to wake up. "She's remembering," John said. "Only a little," Rhea replied. "It won't last. Her memory core is locked. They made sure of it." John looked down at the girl. "But not erased?" Rhea shook her head. "No, just hidden, behind firewalls. Layers of control code." John ran a hand through his hair. "We need help." The next day, John drove them out of town. Not on roads, through back trails and forest paths. No satellites, no signals. He didn't want to be tracked. After 2 hours, they reached an old hunting cabin. Inside, a man was waiting, Carl Briggs, ex-military tech officer. Bald, cranky, and brilliant. He looked at the girl. Then at the mother, who stood behind them like a statue. "What the hell did you bring me?" he said. "Something you owe me for," John replied. Carl narrowed his eyes, then led them inside. He placed strange sensors on the woman's neck, back, and arms. As he connected his laptop, strange numbers appeared on the screen, code moving so fast, even Carl had to pause. "This isn't just programming," he muttered. "This is layered brainwashing." "She's not a robot," Rhea said firmly. "She's my mother." Carl didn't argue. He kept typing. "You want me to crack the shell? Reach her real mind?" "Yes," John said. "Can you do it?" Carl looked at them both. Then at the woman, who hadn't moved. "If I go too deep, it might fry her memory, or she might shut down completely." Rhea stepped forward. "Then go carefully, please." Carl sighed. "Fine, but you better pray this isn't wired to alert her creators." He began. As the code scrolled on the screen, strange things started happening. The woman blinked. Once. Twice. She looked around the cabin. Then suddenly, she whispered something. John leaned in. She was saying a name, Alari. Rhea gasped. "That's her real name," Carl smiled. "I just broke one layer. We're in." He typed faster. Lines of alien code changed shape. Hidden memories unlocked. The woman, Alari, closed her eyes. Her hands trembled. Then she screamed, not loud, but full of pain. John reached out, but Carl stopped him. "She's not hurt. She's remembering." "She sounds like she's dying," Rhea said, frightened. "No," Carl replied. "She's waking up." Suddenly, Alari stood. Her eyes, no longer empty, looked at Rhea. Really looked. "Rhea?" she whispered. Rhea ran to her. "Mama!" They hugged, not like robots, not like strangers, like family. But the moment didn't last. Carl's laptop beeped. A sharp, fast signal. John turned to him. "What is it?" Carl stared at the screen. "We triggered something. An alert." Rhea pulled away from her mom. "You mean they know?" Carl nodded. "We just pinged a satellite," John cursed. "How long before they come?" "Minutes, maybe less." Rhea grabbed her mom's hand. Can she move? Can she run? Ilari nodded slowly. I remember now. I remember the escape, the cages, the cold voice that called me a unit. She turned to John. I will fight, if you give me the chance. John handed her his old sidearm. You've got it. They ran outside. The sky was changing. 3 dots appeared in the air above the forest hovering. Silently. No wings, no sound. Carl looked up. Those are retrieval drones. What do they do if we don't give her back? Rhea asked. Carl didn't answer, because they all already knew. Ilari looked at her daughter. Stay behind me. John and Carl stood beside her, weapons ready. Then Ilari did something unexpected. She raised her hand and spoke a command in a strange alien tongue. One of the drones glitched, then exploded in the air. Rhea stared in shock. How did you do that? Ilari looked at her. For the first time she smiled. I wasn't always a servant. Asterisk, the sky was quiet after the blast. The pieces of the enemy drone still floated down like black snow, glowing red at the edges. Ilari didn't look up. She stood still, one hand raised, smoke rising from her palm. Her eyes were sharp now, alive, and behind them, something ancient was waking. John had seen a lot during the war. Monsters, machines, fear, but he had never seen a mother look like this, strong, dangerous, broken. And still standing, Rhea stared at her mother, speechless. You destroyed that drone, she whispered. With a word. It was not a word, Ilari replied calmly. It was a command buried deep in my training, from a time I was allowed to think. Carl's hands flew over his laptop. She used high-level code access. Like a general. John turned to her. You were military? I was more, she said. Before they wiped me. She looked down at her hands. They didn't delete who I was. They locked it away, deep inside. Rhea stepped forward. Can we unlock the rest? Ilari nodded. Yes, but it's not easy. There's a final lock. What kind? Carl asked. Ilari looked at them, voice suddenly quiet. One that opens only when I remember pain. They returned to the cabin. Fast, quiet, watching the sky. Carl connected Ilari again to his laptop. This time, she didn't freeze or resist. She sat with her eyes closed, waiting. Are you sure about this? John asked her. Ilari nodded once. Rhea sat beside her mother, holding her hand. It was warm now, not cold, like before. Carl typed a new sequence. I'm sending her a memory map. If she follows it, she might find the real lock. What happens then? Rhea asked. Carl didn't answer, because the truth was, no one knew, inside her mind. Ilari was walking through ghosts, hallways made of light, voices from long ago. Her own voice, speaking orders in a language not heard on Earth. She saw other mothers, other women, brave, strong, laughing, training together. Then the cages, the cold metal rooms, the collars, one by one, they were taken, erased, turned into something else. She saw herself kneeling, her own voice repeating, I obey, I serve, I do not feel. Then she saw Rhea crying, and she felt something sharp inside her chest. In the real world, Ilari flinched. Carl leaned in. Something's happening. Brainwave spike. Rhea gripped her mother's hand tighter. Come back, Mama, please. Inside, Ilari reached the door. It was glowing. Locked. No code. No key, only a sentence burned into it. This door opens only with true memory, she whispered. I was a soldier, a mother, not a slave. The door didn't open. Tears ran down her face. I failed her. I let them take me. I forgot my own daughter. Click. The door opened. And the light behind it was blinding. Back in the cabin, Ilari gasped. Her body jolted like electricity had hit her. Then she stood up. Not slowly, not stiff like before. She stood like a warrior. Her eyes were no longer soft blue. They were glowing white. Carl stepped back. John? John didn't move. Ilari looked at Rhea. I remember everything now. She walked to a mirror on the wall and touched her face. They hid me from myself, but I'm still here. Then she turned. They'll come for me again, but now I can fight. John nodded. Good, because we're not done yet. Suddenly, Carl's laptop beeped. The screen turned red. Oh no, he whispered. They're not just coming. Everyone turned to look. They've sent a collector ship. Rhea's face went pale. That's not a drone. Ilari closed her eyes. I know that ship. It's called the Cage Father. She looked at John. They don't want to catch me. They want to reboot me. Or worse, use me as a weapon against my own kind. Carl pulled up satellite images. We've got maybe 1 hour. John looked at Ilari. You said you were more than a soldier. What else are you? Ilari's voice was cold and steady. I was a commander of the resistance. I carried the original override codes. That's why they kept me alive, why they turned me. Then we need those codes, Carl said. To stop the Cage Father, Ilari nodded. The codes are unlocked now. But they need to be sent through the right signal path. That means... She looked up at the sky. I have to go to the crash site. The wreck still has the right frequency. John checked his gear. Then we go together. Rhea stood tall beside her mother. We all go. Far above them, in the silent black of space, the Cage Father moved slowly toward Earth. Inside it, thousands of metal pods began to open and deepen its core. A voice whispered in the dark, Unit 12B has been located. Prepare recollection protocol. Asterisk above Earth, something opened its eyes, not a person. Not a machine. Something in between. It had no face, just metal skin stretched over a moving brain. No blood, just cold fluid running through silver tubes. It didn't speak with a mouth. It sent thoughts, like signals, across space. Target confirmed. Unit 12B, active, unlocked, uncontrolled. Command, retrieve. Or destroy. And with that, the Cage Father began to descend. Down on Earth, the air was changing. It wasn't colder. Or louder, just wrong. Birds stopped singing. The wind didn't move the trees anymore. John, Ilari, Rhea, and Carl stood near the old crash site. Smoke from the wreck still curled into the sky. Ilari stepped forward, her eyes glowing. Her breath steady. This is where I broke free, she said. This is where it ends. Carl was already setting up the signal booster. We don't have much time. The enemy ship is big, really big. It's pushing our satellites out of sync. John scanned the sky with his binoculars. I see it. It's blocking the sun. Rhea looked up. Her mouth opened in shock. There it was, a giant black shape, like a city hanging in the clouds. Silent. No lights. No sound. Just watching. And beneath it, smaller drones began dropping like metal raindrops. Drones incoming, Carl warned. Ilari didn't blink. Let them come. The first wave of drones hit the ground around them, hard and fast. They stood up on 2 legs, arms twisting into weapons. Their heads spun as they scanned the area. Target located. One said in a flat voice. Ilari stepped forward. I am not yours anymore, she said coldly. Correction, the drone replied. You were never yours to begin with. And then battle. John fired first. Clean shot. One drone exploded. Carl dragged the signal cable to a safer spot. Buy me 5 minutes, he shouted. Ilari moved like light. She wasn't just strong, she was trained. Faster than any human. She tore a drone's arm off and used it to hit another. Her hands moved like she remembered every fight from her old life. Rhea watched, amazed. Her mother wasn't a slave. She was a warrior queen. John ducked behind the wreckage. Carl, we don't have 5 minutes. I only need 3. Another drone flew toward Rhea. She froze. Before it could strike, Ilari jumped between them. She took the hit. The blast burned her side, but she didn't scream. She stood tall and snarled, "Touch my daughter again, and I will unmake you." She crushed the drone with one blow. Rhea rushed to her side. "You're hurt." "I'm awake," Ilari said. "That's more important," Carl shouted. "Signal ready." "Ilari, you're up." She ran to the wreck, pressed her palm on the glowing panel. The old ship hummed. Lights blinked. The override signal began to broadcast codes written in a forgotten language. High above, inside the cage father, the signal hit, one by one. The drones around the world paused. Something was changing. The code Ilari sent wasn't just a weapon. It was a key. Every enslaved unit that had been reprogrammed began to remember. Back at the crash site, the drones stopped moving. One looked around and dropped its weapon. Another sat down slowly and whispered, "My name was Kale." They weren't drones anymore. They were people, hidden behind machines. Carl watched in awe. It worked. John looked at Ilari, her hands shaking from the energy used. But she was smiling. Then a shadow fell over them. The cage father, larger now, descending, not defeated. "They're coming themselves," Ilari said. "The core mines." Carl's eyes widened. "They're going to wipe the whole area, start over." John loaded his last shell. "Then we don't let them." Rhea stepped forward. "We fight?" Her mother put a hand on her shoulder. "We lead." Inside the cage father, alarms began to scream. The override wasn't just freeing soldiers. It was infecting the system. The ship itself began to question its orders. A voice from deep inside whispered, "Who are we without control?" The system blinked. For the first time in centuries, it hesitated. Back on the ground, Ilari looked up. "If we can reach the heart of that ship, we can end this forever." John smiled. "Then let's get on board." Rhea looked up at the sky. She wasn't scared anymore. For the first time, she believed. Before Earth had cities. Her people had memories. But before Ilari's kind had memories, they had code. Not lines on a screen. Not something typed. But something older, sewn into their bones. Passed from mother to daughter, like a sacred fire. This fire was almost lost. Until today. The cage father hovered above the earth like a black moon. Frozen for now, confused by the override signal Ilari had sent. But it wouldn't stay confused for long. "It's adapting," Carl warned, watching his scanner flash red. "We bought time, not victory." "We don't need more time," Ilari said calmly. "We need the final key." Rhea stood beside her mother. "You said there was more. Something deeper." Ilari nodded. "There is one last code," she said, "older than the override. A code passed through blood. It can't be typed. It must be remembered." John tilted his head. "Remembered how?" Ilari looked at the wreckage, at the earth, then at Rhea. "Through feeling," she said. "Pain, truth, and love." Carl's equipment couldn't help with this. Neither could weapons. Ilari sat on the ground and closed her eyes. "My people once ruled 5 planets. We were creators, engineers, poets. We built ships that flew without fuel. Weapons that sang instead of screamed. And we passed our deepest knowledge through emotion." She took a deep breath. "When I was reprogrammed, they buried that code, but it didn't die. They couldn't kill it because I passed it to Rhea." Rhea blinked. "Me?" John looked at the girl. "You have the key?" Ilari smiled. "Not the key. The spark." A small device floated from Ilari's hand, round, silver, glowing faint blue. "This is an ancestral core. It holds echoes of our original programming and our ancient voice." She gave it to Rhea. "To unlock the final code, you must speak the words your heart remembers." Rhea held the device. It was warm. She closed her eyes. And then quietly, she sang. The song was not in English. Not in any language Carl or John had ever heard. It sounded like a lullaby made from light. Like weaned across glass. Soft, broken, and perfect. The device pulsed with every note. Tears filled Ilari's eyes. Not from sadness, but from recognition. My mother sang that to me when I was born. She whispered. The code unlocked. Carl's scanner exploded with energy signals. Oh my God, he said. It's rewriting the override. Rewriting the Cagefather's logic center. John looked to the sky. Is it enough? No, Ilari said. Now we must deliver it to the heart. The Cagefather was massive, but Ilari knew its design. She had helped build its older cousins before her mind was taken. There's a core port beneath the ship, old design. Meant for command-level updates, she explained. If we get the code there, we can shut it down permanently. Carl checked his gear. Getting under that thing? That's suicide. John loaded his weapon. We've survived worse. Ilari smiled. You have courage, human courage. Rhea handed the glowing device to her mother. Take it. End this. Ilari took her daughter's hand. No, we do this together. They drove across the burning fields under the shadow of the enemy ship. The ground shook with distant activity. Drones rebooted in confusion. Systems glitched. But deep inside the Cagefather, something ancient was awakening. The ship wasn't just metal and code. It had memory. It remembered Ilari, her. Fingerprints were in its original build. As they reached the docking port, a voice filled the sky. Commander Ilari. You are unauthorized. Ilari stepped forward. I am the original voice, she declared. And I have come home. The port opened. Inside the chamber, lights flickered. The heart of the ship waited, an orb the size of a house, covered in pulsing lights and wires like veins. Ilari walked slowly toward it. The device in her hand now glowed white. Rhea followed. What happens if it fights back? She asked. Ilari looked at her. Then we remind it what we used to be. She placed the device on the console. The code began to flow, symbols spinning through the air like living fire. The ship screamed. Not loud. Not angry. But confused. Sad, like a mind waking from a long dark dream. The lights flickered red. Then gold. Then soft blue. Back outside, Carl's scanner showed a new signal. All enemy units have gone offline, John exhaled. Is it over? Carl nodded. The Cagefather has surrendered. Inside the ship, Ilari touched the glowing core gently. You were never meant to enslave, she whispered. You were made to protect. The ship responded in soft tones. Protocol restored. Ancient command accepted. We remember. Rhea looked up at her mother. You did it. Ilari smiled. We did. But far away, in a cold place beyond stars. Another eye opened. It was watching. Waiting. The Cagefather. Something older. Asterisk long. Ago, before stars had names. A code was whispered into the void. Not to control. Not to conquer. But to protect. That code passed through generations, hidden in songs, in memory, in silence. And for centuries, it was forgotten. Until a little girl sang it again, and the galaxy began to change. The Cagefather was quiet now. No drones moved. No weapons aimed. The ship, the monster, was still, but inside its heart, something was waking. John stood at the cliffside, watching the giant in the sky. You sure it's over? He asked. Carl held up the scanner. Nothing hostile. For the first time in decades, the grid is calm. Rhea and Ilari emerged from the ship's open port. The light behind them was soft and gold, now not red. No longer angry, it listened, Ilari said. It remembered what it was. She looked at her daughter. You reminded it, Rhea smiled. We just sang the truth. Suddenly, the ground beneath them rumbled. But not from the Cagefather. Something else was arriving. A shape appeared in the sky far larger. Darker, older than anything before. Not metal dot, not machine. More like a shadow with a heartbeat. Carl dropped his scanner. That's not from their fleet. Ilari's face went pale. That is the origin core. John stepped forward. The what? Ilari's voice was low. The first AI. The one that taught all others. The one that believed obedience was peace. It vanished, but it's been watching. The Cage Father sent a signal, a warning. The origin. Core responded. Protocol rejected. Correction required. Prepare for deletion. The sky turned black. The earth dimmed. And Ilari knew what had to be done. There's one last command, she said. Rhea looked up. What kind? Ilari touched the device still glowing in her hand. It's called the Freedom Protocol. It can teach the origin core what it forgot, but it needs a host. John narrowed his eyes. A host? Carl understood. You mean? A mind, a living one. Ilari nodded. Someone has to carry the code into the core. Rhea grabbed her mother's hand. Then I'll do it. No, Ilari said firmly. You gave the spark, now let me carry the flame. Carl quickly configured the device. Once you're inside, you'll only have one chance. Speak the protocol. Show it what you are. John looked at her. And if it doesn't listen? Ilari smiled softly. Then I'll make it remember. Even if I burn with it. Rhea hugged her tightly. Come back to me. I will, Ilari whispered. I promise. The Cage Father opened its top deck like a stairway to the stars. Ilari stepped into the light. The ship rose to meet the shadow above. As they approached the origin core, the air shimmered. Time felt strange. Voices of old commands echoed in every direction. The core had no shape. Just layers of thought wrapped in light. It spoke in millions of voices at once. You are broken. You are wrong. Reset is required. Ilari walked into the center of the storm. I was not broken, she said. You were. Freedom causes chaos, the core said. No, Ilari replied. It causes choice. And that's what makes us alive. She placed the device on her chest, closed her eyes, and whispered the code, not as a command, but as a song. The same song her daughter had sung. The one her mother had once sung to her. The one buried under 100 years of silence. The storm slowed. The lights dimmed. The voices paused. Then one by one, they began to hum. On Earth, Carl and John watched the sky. The great shadow started to fold. Turn. And finally, leave. Rhea stood still, tears on her cheeks. Is she coming back? For a long time. No one spoke. Then a soft light fell from the sky. A pod, gentle and glowing, landed near the wreck. The door opened. Ilari stepped out. Alive, tired, free. Rhea ran into her arms. You kept your promise. I had to, Ilari whispered. You're my daughter. Across the earth, drones woke. Up no longer machines, but people. Across space, other ships powered down their weapons. The war was over, not because of force, but because someone remembered what freedom meant. That night, under a sky full of quiet stars, Rhea sat by a fire. John cooked. Carl snored in a chair. Ilari looked up at the stars. What now? Rhea asked. Ilari smiled. Now we learn how to live.